Okay, I think we're live. This is a very different experience. Sorry you don't get to look at my apartment wall. Instead, you get to look at one of the beautiful edificios aquí in Sevilla. I'm not sure if the internet's going to work, but we're going to roll with it. And I'm also not sure that I can even see my screen. So hopefully it looks better than nothing that I see. I am the real_G1er on Twitter, going to go through the soccer card for this weekend for the top 5 European leagues. Without further ado, always start where the money is, and that is in England. So today, Friday, there were a bunch of matches broadcasting this Friday afternoon from Spain. And the first match in England is Arsenal hosting Aston Villa. Currently, Arsenal a half a goal favorite, which is about what I expected. It was a little bit taller or bigger than this morning. Villa's offense is really non-existent without Jack Grealish, and their defense is, well, they were using a bunch more defensive assets in their starting lineups, but I'm just not sure that that's doing enough for them offensively, and wonder if they're going to start changing things around or really what's going to happen next. Hard to want to back them in the situation, only getting half of a goal from Arsenal, who have been playing a lot better lately. They're playing the kids for now 2 seasons and potentially getting better, but for now, not great. So I'm not really in love with Arsenal either, but giving a half of a goal, you basically need a draw from Aston Villa to have any sort of success here, and I'm just not sure that I feel comfortable enough doing that. Next, moving to Saturday, we have Chelsea and Norwich in the early start, using all lines from Bet Online, just for safety's sake. Currently, Norwich getting a goal in 3/4 from Chelsea, I think a lot due to Lukaku injury, as this number was a lot higher before Champions League happened this week. But same sort of situation with Norwich. No matter how good their defense is, I just don't think you can rely on them to score, especially not against Chelsea. So 1 3/4 is not enough for me. Next on the list is Everton hosting Watford in a 4 p.m., whatever Spanish time it is, but 10 a.m. Eastern time in the U.S., where there's a ton of games all going on at the same time. Everton currently giving 3/4 a goal. Watford came up as a defensive side. I'm not sure their defense has been very good in the Premier League so far, and unfortunately that's a big problem because they can't really score reliably. So I'm not really sure what to do with them exactly, but only getting 3/4 a goal is not enough, even from an Everton offense that is not very strong, has been missing a ton of players. I'm not sure if Richarlison is coming back or what his story will be, but ultimately something that I'm not really wanting to get involved with is Watford. Got a good win against Norwich, but have been pretty disappointing in all the other matches that I've watched of them or bet them this season. Next is Southampton hosting Burnley. Currently, Burnley getting half of a goal with all the juice on their side. Might tick down to 1/4, which is where Southampton closed against Leeds last week. Ultimately, Burnley have been playing poorly, have not really spent on their club for the last few seasons until the new American owners came in this either off season or in the middle of this season, really. They made some transfers and added some players, like they took, I think, Cornet from Lyon, but ultimately there's still a lot to go with this team. I don't really believe in the Southampton offense. Their goal last week was scored because Leeds sent way too many bodies forward on a corner kick, which is what Leeds do, but also was really, really stupid because I'm not sure that Southampton would have scored anyway. Certainly leaned to Burnley getting a half, but I'm just not sure that that's enough for me based on not really expecting them to be able to score. Goalless certainly would win for Burnley, but I'm just not sure how Burnley get on the board besides a set piece or something that's really a big, big mistake from Southampton. Next is Leeds hosting Wolves, currently Pick'em, which is a huge difference from where these two teams were thought of entering the season. Wolves have played pretty well. Their defense has been good for a couple seasons now. Leeds have really fallen off the pace. A lot of, I think, people expected them to do. There were some shouts for even European competition finishes. Still plenty of time to go, but they've been awful, ravaged by injuries, which has been a problem, but also has probably something to do with their style of play under Bielsa. Ultimately, Wolves as an underdog would be interesting to me, but at Pick'em right now, not a lot for me to do. Next is Crystal Palace hosting Newcastle. Currently, Crystal Palace giving a half of a goal at home. Not sure that they're good enough or should be a favorite of this magnitude, but ultimately, who can back Newcastle at this point? Yeah, the ownership takeover or whatever is going to bring some new bodies in, but that can't happen yet until the next transfer window, if that even happens mid-season. The Newcastle defense has been historically bad for a couple seasons now. And they do have some talented players like Almiron and Alan Saint-Maximin, but ultimately it's really hard to rely on them to score. On the other side, Crystal Palace as a favorite doesn't really seem like a great idea either. I think if I had a little more faith in Newcastle, I probably would play them here as Crystal Palace's offense, despite taking up a little bit better recently. And certainly Patrick Vieira, I think, will help them at manager. But they're still, I think, hard to trust, in my opinion, even though Gallagher is playing better, filling in for Zaha a little bit, and some other younger players seem to be coming around and hitting their stride for Palace. The nightcap on Saturday is Brighton hosting Manchester City. Currently, Brighton getting a goal and a quarter. Man City off of a pretty big Champions League victory. Certainly are a defense that Brighton are unlikely to score against. So ultimately, if you're playing Brighton here, you're hoping for a 1-0 loss or for them to somehow get on the board. I'm not sure that they can score. And unfortunately, if Man City get that first one, the second one is more likely than that first. So it's tough. If you think Brighton can score here, then you probably are in a good position if you take a goal and a quarter to at least win half a unit, because I don't see Man City getting more than 2 goals. But it really depends on if you think Brighton will score if you want to make this bet. Moving to Sunday, West Ham hosting Tottenham. Currently, Tottenham getting a quarter of a goal with all the juice on the road. West Ham, both of these teams played it in Europe on Thursday, and so quick turnarounds for both. West Ham at home is better, but ultimately 2 London clubs. And I'm not sure that West Ham's offense is really reliable. So I'm looking at Tottenham currently getting a quarter. I'm not sure that I love Tottenham really at all, but it's really about being against West Ham. Next is Brentford hosting Leicester. Currently, Brentford a pick'em with most of the juice, or almost all of it right now, which is saying something from where these 2 clubs started the season. Leicester have been a disaster. There's not really more ways you can put it. They did play midweek, so that was a benefit to them to get a little bit more rest from their Europa campaign. But pick 'em not much for me to do there, though. I guess I'm interested in Leicester if they move to an underdog, though I'm not really sure I want to touch that too much. And then the big one for the weekend is Manchester United hosting Liverpool. Currently, Liverpool a quarter goal favorite on the road, saying something. I went to the match in Madrid this week against Atleti with a 2-0 lead. Figured that was all she wrote, but then really required a penalty late to get on the board, as Liverpool weren't creating a ton of chances, and I thought Atleti were playing better. From 2-0 down for sure, they had to play better, but ultimately tied at 2-2 thanks to a deflection and another good goal. And then who knows with refereeing and refereeing decisions from the German referee. I don't know. It's also hard in the stadium because you don't get any replays. But from my perspective, I think Liverpool was outplayed for the last hour of the game, but somehow ended up coughing up a 2-0 lead and still winning the match somehow. Now for this match, United have been playing pretty poorly. Had to play Atalanta midweek, a day later than Liverpool got to play, but ultimately are at home for this match, and I was surprised to see them as a quarter goal underdog. And it was ultimately, when I was making lines for this one, was looking to try to back Liverpool, thinking that they might be a pick 'em, but weren't clearly not so lucky. And seeing Liverpool an underdog at home to Man City, also a slight favorite to Chelsea at home. Their lines have all been around a pretty strong group, I would say. United, though, have not been playing well, and it's really hard to want to back a team managed by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer over a Jurgen Klopp team. But ultimately, the home dog is always interesting to me. Currently, United getting a quarter. We'll see where this one moves before kickoff on Sunday. Now, I guess since we're in Spain, might as well jump next to La Liga, where we have a Friday match. Osasuna hosting Granada. Currently, Granada getting 3/4 of the goal with all the juice on their side. They are the road team. They're pretty unlikely to score, but Osasuna's offense is not great. I'm not sure that I believe in them being a favorite of this magnitude. 3/4 of the goal where you push on a loss of a single goal, you push half your wager. That's higher than it should be, though I'm just not sure that Granada are good enough for me to want to back them. Next is Valencia hosting Mallorca. Currently, Mallorca getting 3/4 of the goal, and that's a big number for Valencia's side, who have really fallen off. Took a good lead against Barcelona, really got screwed on a bad penalty call, in my opinion, at the end of the first half, and then were unable to equalize, and that just left them open for to concede a goal late to Barcelona. Mallorca, on the other hand, played pretty well. We're in a unaccustomed state on the road at Sociedad, where they had to have possession and really take control of the match, considering they had an 11-on-10 advantage thanks to a late first half red card from Real Sociedad, or second yellow. It was disappointing. I was in the house for that one. Took Mallorca +1, and seeing that late goal in off a deflection and a ball that I think Pepe Reina, the goalkeeper, should have saved. But happens. It is what it is. Might have gotten that name wrong on the keeper, but whatever. Ultimately, Valencia's, their defense has been pretty bad. Mallorca's defense has been great, despite being a recently promoted side. And I think getting 3/4 of a goal is more than Valencia should be offering at this point. They do have some offensive players for sure, and Gaia returning to the side for the Barcelona match is pretty big. But ultimately, I think Mallorca's defense is solid, and there's a little bit of a safety net here where you push on half a bet if they lose by a goal. So I'm honestly not even sure that happens. Next on Saturday is Cadiz hosting Alaves. Alaves on the road as it's a pick'em, but all the juice on the Cadiz side. If they move to a quarter goal favorite, you have to look at Alaves. They played really good defense against Betis, didn't give up a goal until late in the match on Monday night. Cadiz didn't really offer much offensively, struggled to really prevent Espanyol chances, gave up a crazy goal off of a crossbar, off a corner kick, all these sort of things. And the Cadiz team, they're asking their captain about it after the match, and he seemed pretty despondent about what has happened to the team from last year to this year. And ultimately, Cadiz started last season really well with a lot of points in the bag. They've not been able to do that this season, and I think they're going to be in big trouble to try to stay up in the league. Alaves are not in much better shape for sure, but I think they've been playing a little bit better lately. Got the victory over Atleti, and I think are in a better situation. So we'll see if they move to a quarter goal underdog before kickoff on Saturday. Elche then hosting Espanyol. Pick'em, even juice both ways the whole way. So Elche, I expected to be actually an underdog here. I'm not sure that I want to back them really. Espanyol defense has been good. Another newly promoted side that have been playing better. Elche added some players after sticking around for a second year in La Liga. But ultimately, I still feel like Espanyol has a little bit more oomph to their club and have more history and probably a bigger wallet to spend on better players, and maybe just even had a better roster entering this season. But Pick'em, not much to touch here. Moving on to Athletic Club hosting Villarreal. Currently, Athletic Club giving a quarter of a goal, though all the juice is on the Villarreal side, so that might be falling down to Pick'em by the time kickoff occurs. Villarreal getting Gerard Moreno back for Champions League midweek was huge. I'm not sure what his status will be for the match on Saturday, but would think that he probably won't be available or will be available off the bench. So we'll see what happens with that one. But Athletic Club are a defensive side that are going to try to hit you on a counter. It's tough to be a favorite. Whereas Villarreal, I think have shown under Unai Emery they can play great defense, and when they have Gerard Moreno in their lineup, they're a lot stronger offensively, and so that's a side I want to look at for Saturday's nightcap. Moving to Sunday, Sevilla hosting Levante. Currently, Sevilla giving a full goal with all the juice on their side, likely climbing to 1.25. Levante have been pretty poor. Were good last season, had a great run to the semis of the Copa del Rey, but since then, defense has been an issue and can't score penalties, which is another big problem. A .77 xG, and they can't find the net on at least two in a row from multiple players. Their heart and souls. So that's a big problem. I think in the past, I'd really like to back Levante here, as they've certainly got some defensive issues, but have some great scoring threats, but they have not been showing up this season. So it's really hard for me to want to back them, especially in a game where Sevilla are going to have a ton of possession and probably create a ton of chances. Barcelona and Real Madrid and El Clasico, hosted by Barcelona. Currently Real Madrid a slight favorite at Pick'em on the road, a little more juice on their side. Not much for me to do here. Really don't like Barcelona. Don't really love Madrid either. Don't think Real Madrid are that strong, but ultimately at Pick'em, not much for me to touch. Next is Real Betis hosting Rayo Vallecano. Attended the Betis match last night. Was pretty unimpressed with their offense. Got a fortunate handball to get a penalty, and then conceded an equalizer right after that, thanks to kind of a weird deflection. But ultimately, I think Rayo have been playing a lot better than they started the year. They added Falcao, who was on fire, at least for the first few matches he was there. And ultimately, the Betis offense, I think, is not really good enough. The defense has been weakened by injury, and certainly they're getting a little bit more healthy day by day. But seeing them giving 3/4 of a goal with not much of an offense seems like too much to me, though all the juice is on the Rayo side, so it might fall to a half. Still might not be too small for me to want to look at, because a draw wins a full bet there. Atleti then host Real Sociedad in the nightcap on Sunday. Atleti are 3/4 of a goal favorite, with all the juice on their side. If it climbs to 1, I'm going to be very interested in backing Sociedad, though Mikel Oyarzabal is out, I think, for a few more weeks. Atleti just feel like they were pretty fortunate to win La Liga last season. Their offense has not been very good. Defense is always solid, but ultimately I feel like they're a side I'd like to go against as a big favorite against another team that do have the ability to score. The Sociedad defense does offer some questions for sure, and they're going to have some trouble stopping El Pistolero, as Luis Suarez only came on as a substitute in the Champions League match midweek, so I expect he'd start. But we'll see what happens. If this climbs to 1, it'll probably be on my card. And then Monday Night Football, we have Getafe hosting Celta de Vigo. Currently, Getafe is pick'em with all the juice on their side, likely climbing to a 1/4. And I think at a 1/4, I'll play Celta de Vigo, though their defense is problematic. They are much better offense than a non-existent Getafe offense. So as a favorite, I'd love to be against a non-existent offense. Now moving on to Italy for Serie A. We have a couple matches today. On Friday, we have Torino hosting Genoa. Currently, Torino given 3/4 of a goal and played Napoli as tightly as you could and went forward the whole time. It's kind of incredible how Juric has taken over and really just made a defensive side an offensive team all of a sudden overnight. Genoa just keep falling behind, giving away big leads in matches at home, on the road, everywhere it seems. And that's a big problem considering they're always in the relegation battle. So Torino, I think, are playing well enough, though I'm not sure that they're a deserved favorite of this magnitude or this height. But I'm just not sure that Genoa are a team I want to back here against a Torino side that I really like. And I kind of hope they lose here so we can retain some value on them. The nightcap on Friday is Sampdoria hosting Spezia. Currently, Spezia getting 1/2 of a goal. All the juice on the home Sampdoria side, might climb to 3/4. Spezia have shown that they want to push forward and play offense. It worries me against better clubs, bigger pocketbooks, and Sampdoria is certainly one of them. I'm not sure I believe in the Sampdoria offense, though Spezia will give lots of chances. So ultimately, if you're backing Spezia, you're going to need to really believe that they can score. Salernitana and Empoli on Saturday is the opener. It looks like pick'em with Empoli a slight favorite on the road. Two newly promoted sides, both badly need 3 points here. Pick'em, not much more for me to say. Sassuolo then hosting Venezia. Of course, no point spread right here on Bet Online, and I imagine it's like probably about a goal favorite, Sassuolo, and probably should be. They've been getting some strong lines. Their offense has been good, is still there, even with the manager change. Defense still an issue. I'm just not sure that Venezia are a team that can really challenge that, as they look like a relegation side nearly for sure. Bologna then hosting AC Milan in the nightcap on Saturday. Milan currently giving 1/4 of a goal on the road. They're just not the type of team that I want to fade with Bologna, who are going to try to push forward and give a lot of space. Moving to Sunday, Atalanta hosting Udinese, currently a 1/4 favorite at home. Atalanta, though they haven't really been playing very good football to start the season, have been dealing with lots of injuries. Their center backs keep getting hurt. They seem to lose a different center back every match, and were already thin when they started the season after selling, I think, Romero to Tottenham. Udinese are they're in a similar situation where they've been selling a lot of guys, but ultimately have retained a defensive philosophy. And I think they're a side I want to back. Potentially getting a 1/4 past Atalanta side is not a team that I'd want to bet against, because if they win, they're going to win 2 or 3 goals, lopsided victories. I'm just not sure they have that in them this season and haven't shown it so far. Fiorentina then hosting Cagliari. That's about 3/4 of a goal or a full goal right now. Again, no goal spread here, but Cagliari are a team that fought relegation last season. I think they're better than that and played really well towards the end of last season, but Fiorentina are a stronger side that also didn't have a very good year last year, but I think the Nico Gonzalez purchase was really important for their offense. And I think with him in there, he can kind of carry that load quite a bit and make Dusan Vlahovic even that much stronger. I think Cagliari, though, as a decent sized favorite in the 3/4 or a full goal region, though, I think are worth a look, and I will be looking at that further. Next, Verona hosting Lazio, currently getting 1/4 of a goal at home from Lazio, who had to play midweek. Verona with a really kind of disgusting 2-0 collapse and losing 3-2. Unbelievable how it happened with a really, really tremendously bad own goal. But Verona have been playing really well. It seems to be something they've done the last 2 seasons really well in the first half. Started off a little slowly, but have been playing a lot better lately. And Lazio can score goals and certainly can kind of roll over the bad teams. I'm not sure that Verona qualifies as one of those right now, though. And Lazio playing midweek and having a couple big matches with the big victory over Inter last weekend. I think there's some value here on Verona getting 1/4 at home, or a draw will win you half a bet. Roma then hosting Napoli. Napoli a slight road favorite. I'm not sure really that Napoli have won every match this season to start Serie A. I think it's 8 in a row in sometimes ridiculous fashion, late penalties, missing penalties, but still end up getting a late victory, late winner, whatever. The Torino victory was kind of incredible, and that seems to be something that Torino does or do, is they give up a late goal and lose after controlling matches throughout. So maybe that's just how Torino go. Roma with a tough loss, I think, midweek in the Conference League, but I'm not really sure what to read into that. As the lineup looked decent, though some of their backups were in there. We'll see what happens with this number. Certainly if Roma climb to a 1/4 goal underdog at home, I'll be looking at them, as Napoli are I think a little bit overvalued right now, to say the least. And the big one on Sunday is Inter Milan hosting Juve. Currently Inter a 1/4 goal favorite at home, with all the juice on their side, might be climbing towards half of a goal. The Juve defense is still okay. I think their offense is pretty weak / quiet. Inter, on the other hand, have been really kind of in the Napoli vein, winning a lot of matches, end of match or end of game, that they didn't really deserve so far in Serie A. Hasn't gone that well in Champions League, but ultimately this is a Serie A match, big rivals, and certainly will be very close. Juve are getting a little bit healthier still. I think going to be missing Dybala, which is a concern. But as this number keeps climbing, I'll be more and more interested in Juve, as as a big underdog, they're a tough team for me to avoid, especially considering Inter have not been that hot as of late. Moving to the Bundesliga, as we're 22 minutes in, Friday match, we have Mainz hosting Augsburg. Currently, Mainz giving 3/4 of a goal. All the juice on their side might climb to a full goal. It's a big number for Mainz to lay. They're not a great offense, but ultimately Augsburg has pretty much no offense whatsoever. Got an early goal off a header, first career from Oxford against Bielefeld, but couldn't hold on, surrendered an equalizer late in their last match. Not sure that they're a team with no offense, because if they fall behind, even getting +1, if they fall behind, you're pretty screwed. Moving to Saturday, Arminia Bielefeld hosting Dortmund, getting a full goal. Seems a little short to me, honestly. Dortmund score goals, Bielefeld really can't, and that's not something I want to get in the way of Dortmund, who especially are good at those stoppage time goals. I feel like they get one a match. Bayern then hosting Hoffenheim, currently giving 2.25 goals, with all the juice on the Bayern side, might be climbing to 2.5. I'm just not really looking to go against Bayern unless I have someone really good that's really hot. And even then, that happened with Leverkusen in their last match, and they still were down 5-0 at halftime. Leipzig then hosting Greuther Fürth, giving 2.25 goals after they put in a ton of effort to try to get back in their Champions League race, and had a lead at Paris Saint-Germain, but ended up choking away and losing late. Sad story, but it is what it is. I don't feel bad for them. Fürth, on the other hand, don't seem like they're a Bundesliga side. The budget isn't there, newly promoted side, and they've been awful. So even Leipzig, ripe for the picking, as 2.25 goal favorites. Like, they've shown that they can score 3 goals late, like they did against Bokum. So I'm not sure that I want to get in the way of that. Wolfsburg then hosting Freiburg, currently giving 1/4 goal. Wolfsburg have been a disaster. Were awful to start the season, but somehow ended up winning, or in the preseason somehow won like every match they played in the Bundesliga, deservedly or not, against 10 men for 93 minutes or not. Freiburg, on the other hand, are undefeated, came back from behind, tied Leipzig, and probably deserve even more from that match than the single point. As we get the 5 p.m. bells in Sevilla, just don't anyone forget what time it is, because they will let you know. But Freiburg getting a quarter, very interesting to me, especially if it climbs to a half of a goal, as Wolfsburg had to play midweek. Looks pretty bad at Salzburg in Austria. And ultimately, they're a team that I'd like to go against as a favorite, because they're very unlikely to score, I think. Also, Wout Horst, I'm not sure if he's injured or what's been going on. He's not really been around the club. Wasn't in the match day squad, I don't think, in Champions League this week. Hertha Berlin in the nightcap hosting Gladbach, coming off a big kind of surprise victory at Frankfurt. Gladbach have been playing really well, though. Half a goal favor on the road seems a little bit pricey for me. Though Adi Hütter is a good manager and seems to kind of his clubs take off right around the last few weeks or right this time of season, slow starts, and then they really kind of start playing how they want to. Plus, Gladbach has been dealing with a ton of injuries. But Hertha getting half of a goal is interesting to me, though. They've been playing so poorly. I don't want to look past that, just because they had a kind of surprise victory at a what I think is a pretty poor Frankfurt side. So I'll probably skip that, but getting half a goal at home is certainly a nice thing, and I wouldn't blame you for playing that. On Sunday, Cologne hosts Bayer Leverkusen, fresh off the trip here to Sevilla on a pretty hot day, playing Betis, and then having to come back for the early one on Sunday. Cologne, though, played Friday last week, got blasted by Hoffenheim. Kind of really surprising result to me, but ultimately, once the floodgates open, they were really having trouble tightening things up, and I think that's something that Cologne will do under the new managers. They're pushing forward, play a lot of offense. That doesn't fit very well, because Leverkusen are a lot stronger. They didn't start Florian Wirtz. They brought him on late as a substitute, so I imagine he starts, and that Leverkusen offense is probably going to be a lot stronger, with Schick also, I think, not starting in favor of Alario midweek. Siwane's offense has been really good, and they're probably really angry still from the Bayern embarrassment of last weekend. We'll see if this keeps climbing, though. At a half of a goal, Cologne drawing at home might be worth a bet. At currently a quarter, I'm not sure that's enough for me there just yet. Stuttgart then hosts Union. Currently, Stuttgart pick them, but all the juice on their side. Hope that climbs, as Union, I think, are a much better side, and I don't see where the goals are going to come from Stuttgart. So I want to be against them as a favorite. And last one in Bundesliga is Bokum hosting Frankfurt, currently getting a quarter of a goal at home is Bokum. I think that I'm looking to be against Frankfurt, especially as a favorite, especially on the road. Oliver Glasner, their manager, I just don't think has any sort of offense in his ability, or in his locker, whatever you want to say as a manager, whatever, in his playbook. Bokum, on the other hand, got a good victory in a tight match, really, against Fourth last weekend on the road. Really important for them to stay in the league. Getting a quarter at home, though, from a continental competition side and a European qualifier seems maybe a little short to me, though. And last but not least, we'll move for the last few minutes, try to keep this under a half hour, going to Ligue 1 in France. We have Saint-Etienne hosting Angers. Pick them right now with all the juice on the road. Angers side, which I think is deserved. Saint-Etienne have been unable to get results this season other than draws, which has worked as an underdog. But in this situation, Angers played really well to start the year. Saint-Etienne have not. I'm not sure I want to step in the way of Angers at this point with a bad side that haven't been playing well, that are facing a lot of pressure. Saturday, we have Nantes hosting Clermont Foot, currently giving a quarter of a goal. Nantes is at home. Clermont Foot have been loved by the marketplace, got a good win last weekend, and ultimately getting a quarter of a goal from a team that doesn't have a great offense is interesting to me, though Clermont are going to leave their defense completely open, so it's really going to depend if they can control possession and how many can Clermont score versus how many they can give up on a counterattack. But getting a quarter, it's interesting to me. Lille then hosting Brest, currently Lille, a full goal favorite at home. The Brest offense is questionable, to say the least. Their defense is kind of what they're known for, and that's how they stay in the league, though Lille are all over the place, had to play midweek Champions League, have had a really poor season, have already lost more matches than they did all of last year in their title chase campaign, title victory, whatever. Brest getting a full goal is a lot of insurance for me, and that's something I'll be looking at. Moving to Sunday, we have Nice hosting Lyon. Big one. It's an early match at Pick'em. not much more to say there, though. If Nice were an underdog, I'd be interested. Lyon were an underdog, I'd be interested too. So I pick them. That's probably the right number, even in Nice. Lorient then hosting Bordeaux. Line has climbed from a quarter to a half. Lorient with a pretty tough showing after going up 1-0 on Marseille on the road last week. Bordeaux have been really tight with a lot of teams. 1-1 feels like their result every week, and that would be enough at their current half of a goal underdog to cover. I'm not sure that I'm really that interested in it just yet, but Lorient being that sizable of a favorite to Bordeaux, even with their financial issues, does seem to be a little high to me. Reims then hosting Troyes. Currently Reims a quarter goal favorite. Seems a little short, but I'm not really a favorite player, so that doesn't really fit me. Lens then a 3/4 goal favorite to Metz with all the juice on the Lens side, so this might be climbing to 1. Metz have sold off a lot of pieces. They were very good last season until the selling started to kick in, did more selling this summer, and haven't really been the same side. Worried that they're going to do more selling over the winter transfer window and kind of get or realize that relegation is a likely type of result for them. Lens, they've been great. I'm not sure I want to step away with them with the Mets defense that doesn't really defend. Rennes then hosting Strasbourg. Currently Rennes giving half of a goal with all the juice in the Rennes side. Strasbourg are starting to play a little bit better, though I wouldn't look too deeply into blowing out Saint Etienne a couple weeks ago, maybe before the international break. Rennes have that big win against PSG, though, and have shown that they can really shut down the back and score some goals clearly. So I'm not sure the Strasbourg are good enough for me. Monaco then giving a goal and a quarter to Montpellier. It's a pretty strong number for Monaco to lay, considering their offense has been fairly non-existent this season. I think Montpellier will give them some opportunities, and it really depends on can Montpellier get on the board offensively and how many times can they score, because I think Monaco are very likely to score here. Montpellier's offense has been very good despite selling a lot of their most talented players, but we'll see what ends up happening with that one. And last but not least, I guess Le Classique is Marseille hosting PSG. PSG certainly, or the players that were there last season, have some payback on their mind, I'm sure. But Marseille getting a full goal at home right now from PSG, who had to play midweek, were a full goal favorite at home to Leipzig, which seemed a little short to me, and ended up pushing thanks to Mbappe putting a penalty into Mars or outer space that would have been a ridiculous bad beat for anyone who backed Leipzig. But ultimately, Marseille getting a full goal is interesting to me. They're going to play wide open football, though, and that does worry me against a PSG attack. So if you're taking Marseille +1, you're expecting them to draw or win, and that likely means scoring a bunch of goals, which they certainly could do against PSG. I'm just not really sure that I want to be paying to see that happen, as I think it could go really poorly for them. I think that is all the top 5 leagues. Still got an hour and a half until the first matches in Serie A begin. I am the real _ G Warner on Twitter. Feel free to hit me there wherever you see this, StreamYard or whatever you want to do. I am live from Sevilla. I think this is going to be my last broadcast before I'm back in the U.S. Sad story. But thanks everyone for following, and hit me on Twitter, the real _ G Warner. Talk to you soon.